guys, we're back for another exciting episode of the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play, and needless to say, I am pumped for today's guest because we literally have a legend on the show, an LPGA Tour legend who has taken her love and passion for the game of golf and is headed to Africa. But we're going to talk about that and a lot more tonight on this episode of the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play presented by Eat Sleep Golf. And the name Betsy King is kind of synonymous with the game of golf and the LPGA Tour. I mean, I can't even count the number of majors that she has on one hand, but with a ton of tour wins and a bunch of majors, she's taken all of that inspiration and motivation and has started this organization called Golf Fore Africa. Really cool stuff going on. Very excited to talk about it. I could spend some more time talking about her and all of the tournaments that she's won, but I'm going to pass it over to her. Betsy, welcome to the Hashtag Wednesday Match Play.
Hi, thanks so much, Ricky. It's great to be on your show. I'm excited to be here and getting a chance to talk about Golf Fore Africa and golf as well. So thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So let's just start with Golf Fore Africa. So tell us a little bit about what it is. Pretend that nobody knows what it is and what you're doing. You've got a really, really good concept. I was looking a little bit at your board, and Kendall Dye, who was actually not on this show, she has been on a show that I hosted prior to this even. I feel like it was just yesterday, but she's involved with the organization as well. So just kind of give us the elevator pitch of what you have going on with Golf Fore Africa.
Well, Golf Fore Africa is a charity. We raise money to help families and children in Africa. To date, we've raised about $8 million to fund various projects in Africa. And the last 3 years, we've been concentrating on clean water, and we dig wells and also provide water mechanized systems. And right now we're working in rural villages in Zambia. So I just was in Africa I got back about 2 weeks ago, and I'm actually headed back there again the middle of June. We partner with World Vision, and they do more clean water than any other charity in the world. Clean water to a new person every 10 seconds. So it's exciting to fund those projects, and we raise money by hosting golf events, women's luncheons, clinics, anything we can do to raise money to bring help and hope to Africa.
That is really cool, and that's really cool that you're able to utilize your history with the game of golf and turn that into something that's a little bit more meaningful in terms of a charity organization. You know, there's so many charities out there, but this is a very specific, very niche charity, and that's crazy stat. Clean water to someone every 10 seconds. And you mentioned World Vision. So what's that partnership like? How did you get connected with them, and kind of what's that look like for what you're doing in Africa?
Well, about 12 years ago, I took a trip to Africa with World Vision and got to see the effects of poverty and HIV/AIDS on women and children. And I was really impressed with how World Vision helps. They hire local people as much as possible. I love their model. They'll go into an area for 10 to 15 years with the goal of bringing clean water, food support, education, economic opportunity, better health. And at the end of that 10 to 15 years, they leave and the village is able to then support themselves. So it's sustainable help that you're bringing to really make a difference. And we kind of come in on the front end and help provide that clean water. Without that and improved sanitation and hygiene education, it's kind of hard to do anything else in development. So I've learned a lot. You know, as I said, I've been involved for about 11 years, and it's every time I go, I'm encouraged. I see progress, and I'm also encouraged by the heart of the people. They welcome us with open arms. They have very little, and yet they offer that to us. We dedicate wells when we're there, and oftentimes we get live chickens as a gift that they give us back, or produce that they've raised. It's just very humbling to be there and to have an opportunity to help people.
Wow, that is so cool. And not comparing it by any means, but I've spent some time in Nicaragua, and the same thing. I mean, they've got, dirt floors and 10 metal roofs, and they are the nicest people. They wave, they welcome you, they want to say hello, they want to invite you in, and just that's cool that you found that in that part of the world. And I'm curious, so you recently just got back from Africa, like you mentioned, you're headed there again. How many times per year do you go, and how did you decide of what part of Africa that you wanted to focus on? Like, how did you pick where you're going? Was it on purpose, or did you just find it by happenstance?
Well, through World Vision, we've funded projects in about 5 different countries so far, in Rwanda, in Lesotho, and Mali, Niger. Right now we're working in Zambia, and we're providing, we've already brought clean water to over 200 villages in Zambia. And when we're finished, it'll mean clean water to over 200,000 people. which is a lot when you think that each well provides clean water for about 300 people. As I say, we're working in very rural areas, but it really is making a difference. You know, one of the things I've discovered is water is kind of a women's issue because it's usually women and girls that are tasked with walking for water. If you can imagine this, Ricky, in her lifetime, the average African woman will walk a distance equal of walking from the earth to the moon in walking for water. So
Oh
think
my
of all the
God.
time that's involved in doing that. And then you get to the watering place and it's usually unclean water that you're getting. And then it's about 45 pounds that you're carrying back, you know, from the site. So if you bring clean water into a village close by, it's just such a great saver of time. In addition to now you have clean water to drink and not get sick anymore. So they say that water is life, and it's very true.
Well, I realize that it's an issue, but just to think that it's in today's world that it's still that big of an issue, and it's unbelievable that you've recognized that and that you're doing something to help that. And you know, like I said, there's so many charity organizations out there, but this one is so niche that just that's a really cool thing to get involved with. And I would have never have guessed they would walk that far and have just that much effort put in to find drinking water. And we take it so much for granted here. Like if I want clean water, I go to the kitchen. Like it's
No, I
not
know.
a big deal.
Yeah, I know one of the players, Amy Olson, that was with us on the trip. She said she was kind of embarrassed when one of the women asked her how far she walks to get water, you know, and she said, thinking it's like, you know, 20 feet from my bedroom. And, you know, it's just, they probably can't imagine, you know, the water source that we have or sources that we use in our house, that we have that many taps within one house. So um, you know, they estimate that over 800 million people still lack access to clean water around the world. So we're trying to be a small part of solving the global water crisis. And the idea that the UN has brought forward and all the countries have come together is that by the year 2030, the goal is that everyone in the world will have access to clean water. So I'm excited to be a small part of that, and hopefully that will come true.
That's so cool. I applaud that so much. Now, obviously, the focus of this interview this is Golf for Africa, but we got to talk a little bit about your time on tour. Now, you've got 6 major championships, 34 wins on the LPGA Tour. It's kind of safe to say that you're a legend of the game. So, talk a little bit more about your career, and we don't have to spend too much time on that, but I do want to hear a little bit more from a legend of the game on what your career was like and all of those tournament wins that you have.
Well, Ricky, I feel like I've had a really unusual career because it took me about 6.5 years to get my first win. And then I went on to win 33 more times. And usually that doesn't happen. Usually, if you win that many tournaments, you know, it takes you about a year and then you start winning and that continues. But, you know, for me, I had some things to do. I had to change my swing. I met an instructor named Ed Oldfield, who's from Chicago and in Scottsdale, Arizona in the winter. And that's when I moved out to Scottsdale to work with Ed. And I, you know, became a Christian partway through my career, and I really felt like that gave me the proper perspective on competition, and it kind of helped me to channel my competitiveness into just making myself better as a player, not worrying about what anybody else is doing, but just trying to be the best that I could be. And you know, once I won that first tournament, it is true that when you win, you kind of realize that you know what it takes to win. And to be honest, I was surprised that you could make mistakes and still win a tournament. Up until I won, I thought, gosh, I'm going to have to play perfect golf for 4 days to win. But I found out that's not true. And I became a better putter. There were just things that came together. And I'm kind of a competitive person. and one, and you know, golf is a funny game. You have to kind of keep on an even keel and not get too up or too down. And I kind of took it as a challenge for myself. I'm going to be the best player that, you know, whatever that is, you know, whether it means number 1 in the world or number 100 or 1,000, whatever that is. And I'm just going to work toward that. And it was a good formula for success.
That is so cool. I mean, to have that experience and have played those courses and to have had the success that you've had, and to know that it took that long to get to the first one, I had no idea. And that's good that you bring that up. That, you know, talking about the attitude, and I think so much of it is attitude. And you know, I find that in myself when I'm playing, whether I play good on the front 9 or bad on the back 9, and vice versa. That, you know, you have to be steady for the entire round. And I like that you said that when you won that first tournament, you realized that that's what it took. And I think that, however good I would potentially play in a round, I think that after every round, like I could be this good if I would have hit that shot, or I did hit that shot because I am good, or whatever that looks like. And that's cool that at a professional level, you're able to realize that.
Yeah.
So where can people learn more about this organization, Golf for Africa, and how can they get involved? Can somebody just go onto the website and volunteer, or kind of what's that look like, and how many people are involved, and kind of just where can they go to learn more?
Well, our website's golfforeafrica.org, and it's FORE Africa.org.
Well, it has to be. I mean, golf, right?
Right. $50 brings clean water to one person for a lifetime. So they can go right to our website and donate $50, and now you've helped one person have clean water for a lifetime. So it doesn't take a lot of money to make a difference. We have a number of golf events. We have one coming up the middle of July in New York City, outside the city. We do women's luncheons in Orange County, California, and Scottsdale. We have a number of events listed on our website that you can look up. You can also, World Vision, who we partner with, I just walked a 6K on Saturday, a walk for water, because the average person walks at least 6 kilometers a day for water. So I did that, and that happens every year, so they can go to the World Vision website to learn more about that as well. So there's a number of things that you can do to help. And as I say, it doesn't take a lot of money to make a difference.
We do a lot of events here at Tiburon, and I wonder if there would ever be an opportunity to host kind of a luncheon maybe in the middle of our season to get a lot of our members involved, if that would be something that you would want to explore. I don't know if there would be an opportunity to do that, but we can absolutely make Tiburon and our membership potentially available.
Yeah,
so one, learn more about the organization, but two, to potentially raise some money for the organization.
We'd love to do that. We have some donors in the Naples area, and we've been looking at trying to do something there. So I'm going to take you up on that, Ricky, and talk about that after this show at some point.
Absolutely, and I got the perfect. We got like 11 rooms in our clubhouse, but I know the exact place that I think that we could do this. We did a fundraiser for the first tee of Naples. We only had about 2 months to promote it. We ended up raising just in one afternoon $12,000 for the first tee, just in a quick golf outing. And I think that there could be some definite potential to help raise awareness for what you're doing here with Golf for Africa.
Thank you. Now,
back to your time on tour, you're also a member of the World Golf Hall of Fame. How did you find out? Did they just call you, or did you know kind of what that looked like? And what did that mean for you looking back on your career and what you've accomplished to be put into the World Golf Hall of Fame?
Well, I knew because if you get into the LPGA Hall of Fame, that gets you into the World Golf Hall of Fame. But what was neat was when they opened the World Golf Hall of Fame in St. Augustine, they invited all the living members to come. And it was an amazing experience because just about everyone who's anyone in the golf world was there. I mean, Arnold Palmer was there, and Sam Snead was still living at that time, and Patty Berg, and Gene Saracen, and Greg Norman, and it was just an unbelievable mix of people that were there for that opening. And so I've been back there several times since when people were inducted. And actually last year in September, I went to the induction for Lorena Ochoa and Meg Mallon and Davis Love III. That was a lot of fun. It was in New York City, but it's if anybody wants to go to the World Golf Hall of Fame in St. Augustine, it's a fun thing to do.
That's really cool. And to have all those big names in the same room. Like, because of that, do you guys all become friends, or are you already friends and you're just there as a gathering, or kind of what's that look like?
It's fun because you introduce yourself to some people, because actually, obviously, a lot of the guys, I haven't run across. I mean, some of the, like Jack Nicklaus I've played with, and Arnie I'd played with, but anyway, it is fun to go and to see everybody. It's people, so it's a reunion as well as meeting some new people. It's a fun group, obviously, to be part of. I feel very honored to every time we get together.
That's really cool. Now, the organization Golf Fore Africa has raised millions of dollars and have helped almost 100,000 people thus far. And I'm curious, what do the goals look like? I mean, is there an end game, or is it just continuously raise as much as you can and help as many people as you can? I mean, does it ever cap out, or do you have goals you're trying to achieve? Kind of what's that look like for you?
Well, we're still trying to keep raising money for water. I've made a personal commitment. Around World Water Day last year, I said I'm going to give $100,000 a year up until 2030. And that's, as I mentioned, the year that they hope that everyone in the world has access to clean water. So that's my part. in making a difference besides volunteering my time with Golf for Africa. But hopefully we'll be able to do this for a few more years and keep raising money and make a dent in that 800 million people that still lack access to clean water.
Wow, that's so cool. What a just a neat why. I always look at like from a leadership perspective and just from a day-to-day basis was what's your why? And you've obviously got a very important why here with Golf for Africa and the fact that you're able to donate that and to go over there and to do this help. And it's really inspiring to be able to see that and to know that that's being done because of I mean the numbers are shocking to that many people. Like again, like I said, we take it such for granted. Like you talk about the number of faucets. I mean, there's a faucet, there's a faucet, there's a faucet. Like it's so easy to get fresh water, and and especially here in Naples, I live right on the water too. I mean, granted, that's not fresh, but at the same time, it's just a different way of thinking. And whenever Scott with Eat Sleep Golf and I were talking about having you on the show, I was excited just to learn more because I wasn't familiar with the organization, and now I can't stop reading about it and learning about it. So it's really cool that you've got your finger on the pulse of this. Now, you also played on 5 Solheim Cup teams. So talk a little bit about that, what that meant as a player. I mean, that's kind of, you look at the PGA Tour, that's the Ryder Cup of the LPGA Tour. And quite frankly, I feel like you guys might have a little bit more fun than the Ryder Cup. But kind of what was that like, and what are some of your favorite memories from those teams?
It's a lot of fun to play. I have to say it's kind of nerve-wracking because you're playing for a team. Normally you're just out there by yourself. This time you're representing a team and also obviously your country. And I know I felt very proud and honored to be a part of 5 Solheim Cup teams. Probably for me as a player, my favorite experience was in Wales, where we were way down going into the last day. And we won 9 of the 12 single matches the last day, and I think halved one and only lost 2. And so it really was a big turnaround. And we were all saying, if we can keep the crowds quiet, then we know we're doing well. And we obviously did that day. I also had the opportunity to be a captain in 2007 in Sweden, and that was a lot of fun as well. I didn't feel pressure because I didn't have to hit one shot. And during that event, it was just fun to lead the players, to get to know some of the modern players and to be their captain. I wanted it to be a memorable experience for them, win or lose. But we did manage to win, which obviously makes it a lot more fun. And it was the first time we had won in Europe for a while, up until a couple of years ago when they won in Heidelberg. That was before that, the last time was in Sweden. So it's a very fun experience and one that all the players want to be a part of. It's probably, if you asked any of the players today, what's your number one goal? They would say, I want to be a part of the Solheim Cup team.
That's really cool. And the fact that you were able to, and I like that you said that you didn't have any pressure because you weren't hitting a shot. So I would almost think the pressure would be more on the captain versus the players because like you're leading that whole team. But that's cool that you were able to give that experience and to bring home the win. So that's really cool. And the fact that you're able to see so many parts of the world and not just, playing in Scottsdale, right? Like you're able to get out and travel and see parts of the world and play for your country. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
So you have several events listed on the Golf for Africa website. I'm curious kind of what those events look like. You talked a little bit about them before, but kind of what's the vision with these goals and what are you looking forward to with some of those events that are upcoming?
Well, we have a golf event July 16th in New York, outside New York at Waikiki Country Club. It's a pro-am. We'll have about 21 foursomes playing with LPGA pros. And so you can go to the website and look that up if you're interested in playing. And then we have 2 luncheons this fall, one in Orange County in October and the others in November in Scottsdale. And that's just an opportunity where we call them Strong Women, Strong World luncheons, but they're open to men and women. And we bring in several speakers, usually someone from Africa and other people that, know about Africa and water. And it's really a great experience. We have an African marketplace there where people come early to shop. And also we use it as a fundraiser, and it's also very educational and a lot of fun. So those are probably the 3 big events that we have left on our schedule. I'll be doing some other traveling this summer, playing golf with donors. I'm headed to Sun Valley, Idaho. I'm headed to Bozeman, Montana, and back to New York, to Cape Cod. I have a lot of trips planned, so I have to do something to get out of the Scottsdale heat, Ricky. And so I'll be doing that and meeting with donors and potential donors. But and then we have a big golf event here in Scottsdale around the LPGA event in March. We start out next year. We have a clinic in Tucson. We have one in Jupiter, Florida. So people can go to our website and check that all out at golfforeafrica.org. And remember, the 4 is FORE.
Anybody that forgets that, I'll make sure the link's down in the description below. But if anybody forgets that, think about who we're talking to here. It's obviously FORE. Like it was so funny when Scott and I were talking about this. I wasn't even thinking that it was FOR. I was like, it has to be FORE, and sure enough, it was. So great minds think alike. Now that was awesome to learn more about this organization and all the stuff that you're doing to raise money and to bring fresh water to all of these people in Africa. Like that's just really cool. And we could probably spend an entire half an hour or more talking just about your time on tours. But I'm glad that we were able to kind of wrap that in. Now, that's your front nine. We talk business, all right? And I'm excited to be able to share your story with people. The Google Plus Golf community, which is actually where this show started, it's got just shy of 27,000 members. So not only will this show be shared there, I'll make sure that we put a little bit more emphasis on Golf Fore Africa and getting more people involved and seeing what we can do about helping just raise awareness for what you're doing. And again, I want to bring a fundraiser here to Naples, and whether it's a golf outing, whether it's golf and lunch, whether it's just lunch, whether it's whatever you think, I think that we've got some potential with that. But we got to jump into the back nine. So let's have some fun. It's just 9 fun random golf questions. So you ready for your back nine?
I am.
Awesome. So you have played a lot of courses, obviously all over the world. What is the best course you've ever played?
Oh gosh, I've gotten to play Pine Valley and Seminole and Augusta.
Yeah, that's a goat ranch.
I can tell you the one course I'd like to play that I haven't played is Cypress Point. I've never played there. And my favorite courses on tour were at Mission Hills, the Dinah Shore course, and actually Waikagill Country Club, where we're having our Golf Fore Africa event in July. That was one of my favorite courses as well. All-time favorite. I guess probably, it's hard to name one. I would probably say the 3 that I've said: Pine Valley, Seminole, and Augusta.
I think those are a pretty good trio of facilities that you can have atop of your list. That's pretty good. It definitely beats mine. I can tell you that.
Shinnecock's up there too. That was I really enjoyed Shinnecock. It's a really well-designed course, and it'll be a great challenge for the Men's Open this summer.
We need to get you to Tiburon so you can play both of those courses, so you can maybe put them in like your top 20, because it sounds like you've played some of the best properties on the planet. So there are a lot of really, really good LPGA Tour players out there. And quite frankly, they're as fun, if not more fun to watch, just because of how silky smooth their swings are and how good they are. So who are some of your favorite LPGA Tour players to watch today?
I love watching Lexi. I mean, the power she has. Arya Chitarnagarn, I mean, she's very powerful too. Lydia Ko has a great attitude on the golf course. She's fun to watch. It's hard to pick out a few. There's so many good players now. And you can see that. I don't know how many tournaments they've had this year, but nobody's won more than one tournament. So, and then the Cordes sisters, I think that's an interesting story. Both of them are good players. And there's just so many good players today that it's really hard to pick out 1 or 2. But I can tell you, if you come out to watch, you'll come back. When I was on tour, you'd meet fans that come out to 3 or 4 events a year. They just love to come out. Once they come out one time, they're hooked and they keep coming. So I would encourage anybody out there to, if they're anywhere near an LPGA event, to go. I know they'll love it.
And I can second that, because just being here at Tiburon, working with the LPGA, they are so approachable and so friendly. And even some of the bigger names, I mean, the Lexis and the Michelle Wees and Lydia Ko's, like they're so approachable to their fans, and it's really humbling to see, because we host a PGA Tour event here too, and it's not that the guys aren't as humble, but they're just a little bit more kind of off the radar and a little bit more behind the gates. And it's cool to see the top 70 players in the world here walking up to fans and signing autographs, even after they've played a bad round potentially. So it says a lot about the tour and the players that are on the tour. Now, you may not remember this, but I've been struggling off the tee to the point that I'm taking golf lessons, which I've never done in my life. And I'm struggling pretty bad that it's like the one thing keeping me from shooting the scores that I know I can shoot. But I'm curious because I think you might have it figured out here with the Betsy King ball launcher. Is that patent pending? And do you remember that club?
I do not. What is that?
Oh my gosh, you got to go back and watch the video. In my research, I found this. It was literally like a launcher, and it
Oh,
shot a ball.
okay. I don't know what that is. They might have stolen that from me.
Well, it went off and it was very loud, and you could tell that you were kind of shaken by it. You were like, "Oh," and they said something about it being so loud. But you hit the green, so whatever you did, you hit the green with that ball launcher. So I just had to bring that up.
Okay, was that at a pro-am or something where they did that?
Yeah, there was a bunch of people there. It didn't say much on the video. It was just I found it and I was like, that's pretty funny. And especially because of the fact that I can't hit a driver straight to save my life. I just thought it was funny that you're hitting the golf ball exactly where you aim it. And the guy even said he's like, aim it a little higher. And you aimed a little higher and you hit it in the middle of the green.
You know, that thing goes about 350 yards or something too.
That's awesome. So how often do you visit Africa, and what is your airline? Do you take the same airline, or does it just depend? What's that travel look like for you?
It's usually Delta. I'm diamond status on Delta, which means I've flown a lot. And they actually have a flight from Atlanta right to Johannesburg, South Africa, that you don't have to go through Europe. And that's probably the quickest way to get there if you're headed to Southern Africa. If you're going to East Africa, I usually go through Europe, Amsterdam. Funny story. You remember a few years ago, there was a volcano in Iceland, and it messed up travel coming through Europe because of the active volcano. Well, I got stuck in Africa. I was supposed to be flying back, and I started in Rwanda, flew to Nairobi, but my flight to Amsterdam was canceled. And I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I ended up staying an extra 3 days. And finally, I got out by flying down to Johannesburg and then coming back through Atlanta, where I didn't have to fly up through Europe. So that was the only time I ever got. All the years I traveled on tour, I never had delays like that. But this one time in Africa, I got stuck there because of a volcano.
That sounds like and we got volcanoes happening right now in Hawaii. I mean, the Big Island's about ready to just be engulfed by that hurricane, that we had hurricanes here, that volcano. So that's a pretty crazy little travel story.
Yep.
Now, you've played Augusta, so it's not fair to ask what your favorite course that you've played is. What's the worst course you've ever played? And you don't necessarily have to name names, but if you want to, you can, because, I mean, there are some pretty bad courses out there. But do you have a memory of your worst course you've ever played?
Not really. There's been different ones. Actually, I played I haven't really played much golf in Africa because we're usually not over there to play golf, but we did a couple clinics early on outside of Nairobi for a lady named Rose who has a program for girls, kind of like a first tee program here. And she feeds them a meal, and that's how she gets them to come, to learn about golf. And it's a 9-hole course that's literally inside a horse racing track. And that's probably the most unusual place that I've played a golf course that was inside a horse racing track. And the range there, they have to pick it by hand. And the grass that you're hitting it into is about a foot high. And you have to watch out for snakes when you're picking up the golf balls. So that's quite a challenge that we probably never see here.
I'm going straight to the first tee. Forget the range. I don't need to hit balls.
Exactly.
Now, normally when I'm doing this show, I'm drinking a glass of wine. I like a Cabernet. I got a beer in my hand. I was just craving a beer this evening. But whenever you're sitting down to have a glass of wine, is it red, white? Do you drink beer? What's your poison?
Okay. Well, to be honest, I'm not a wine or beer person. My drink of choice, and it's not often, but I drink a margarita with salt. So that's
frozen or on the rocks?
I like it both ways. So that's my go-to drink for quite a few years.
I like that. That's good. Now, there are a lot of golf movies out there. What's your favorite?
It's funny. I was playing with somebody yesterday, and we were talking about Caddyshack because, believe it or not, there's a member at the club where I play here, Pinnacle Peak Country Club. The last name is Haverkamp, and it was his parents that were the Haverkamps in the movie. Bill Murray caddied at their club growing up, and there's a scene in the movie where there's an elderly couple playing, and their names are the Haverkamps.
Oh, yeah, I remember that scene like it was. I just saw it yesterday.
People, that played at this club in Chicago, and their son and wife are members at the club that I play here in town. So Caddyshack's a pretty good one. I saw this movie when I was a kid that really inspired me to play, and it was Follow the Sun, the story about Ben Hogan and his life. I think Glenn Ford played Ben Hogan. It'd probably be hard to find that movie today, but
I'm gonna look it up. I'm writing that down because I've not heard of that.
yeah. So I thought that was a really good movie about his life, and I also saw a movie about Babe Saharius. And it might have been a TV movie. Can't remember the actress's name that played the babe, but that was interesting too.
That is definitely the first that either one of those have been mentioned. Normally it's like Caddyshack, Happy Gilmore. Sometimes The Legend of Bagger Vance gets a nod, but even though that's not a very good movie, but tip of the cap to Will Smith for his efforts in that. But
what was the one with Kevin Costner? I loved it until the ending where he kept hitting the balls in the water. I thought that was so
Tin Cup.
Yes, right, Tin Cup. Yeah, that had some funny scenes in it too.
So last week's episode was with Zach Oakley from Cleveland Golf, and this very same question, he said Tin Cup because he recently had a Tin Cup moment. We're on 18, he hit 3 balls in the water. So that everybody's got a connection to that movie, I feel like. So and I like that movie because he didn't know how to play golf before he started filming that movie, and he learned, and it was in Tucson where they filmed the majority of that movie, and just I don't know, it was a feel good movie. It was funny, it was serious, and Happy Gilmore though, I mean, it's hard to beat Happy. That's a pretty great film. Yeah. Now, I don't know if you know this, but I'm Tiger's biggest fan. So be careful how you answer this. Do you think he breaks Jack's record? Why or why not?
I don't think he will. I think right now he's obviously in the last, just since the start of the year, he's played really well, or much better than I think a lot of people thought he would be able to do. I think he might win again, but I think it would be hard to win. Was it 4 more majors that he needs?
4 to tie, 5 to break, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be is kind of a tough order, but I've certainly been wrong about things before.
You heard it here first. I want him to do it because I'm a big fan. And Chip Essick, I don't know if you know Chip. He's from the PGA of America, and he was on this show not long ago. And I asked everyone that question, so I should do like a highlight reel of just every answer of that question. And he said that if he wins one more, he breaks the record, meaning that he just needs one more to get that fire underneath him to be able to get back and do it. And I wonder if and when he wins his next tournament, let alone his next major, is that post-round interview. Is it welcome back, oh my gosh, it's finally here? Or is it just like a normal interview? Like, I played well, I hit the ball well, I putted good, and feels good. Like, I'm curious and I think he's this close. And you're right, it was a very surprising return. I think it was quicker than we expected, and I think he's playing better, faster than what we expected. So it's good to see, and it's good to be able to sit on the couch on Sunday and watch him in contention.
Yeah, definitely is.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been so awesome learning more about everything that you have going on from your time in Scottsdale, and you've been in Scottsdale for a long time, which is really cool, to the courses that you've played, to what you're doing with Golf Fore Africa, to your time on the LPGA Tour. But your final question of your hashtag Wednesday match play is, what's next?
Well, I'm just trying to practice because I'm going to play in the Women's Senior Open, the first one ever this summer in July. So I'm excited about that. I wish it had come a little bit earlier, like about 10 years ago, but I want to be able to say that I played in the first one. So I'm trying to practice and get ready for that. I'm going to Africa before I ever do that, but I'm going to hit balls and practice right up until the time I leave. And as soon as I get back, I'll be working at it and hopefully can play okay in July.
That is so cool. We will be watching because that is cool that they're having one and that you'll be in the first one. So you got a fan right here that's going to be rooting for you. I don't even care who else is in the field. You're the one I'm pulling for. So this episode of the hashtag Wednesday Match Play is going to be on YouTube. It'll be on iTunes and Google Play as a podcast. I'll make sure that all the links that we talked about today are in the description below. This is a very easy show to find because you can get it on Facebook and Twitter and all over the place. But I will also make sure to encourage everyone to subscribe down below. That way you never miss an episode of this show. We're well into season 3. We're already past 100 episodes, which is crazy that this show has flown through 100 plus episodes. But Betsy, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been so great getting to know you and more about you and all of the things that you're doing. And as always on the hashtag Wednesday Match Plays, you have to remember to eat, sleep, golf.